Hello! Today in class we're going to learn how to convert an improper fraction into a decimal fraction. What do we need to do this? To do this, let's look at a few examples. So example 1, the fraction 32 decimals. It's an incorrect fraction because the numerator is greater than the denominator. Hence, we can isolate the whole part first. I will write down 32 tenths as a mixed fraction. So 32 divided by 10. That's going to be 3 whole, so I'm writing down 3 whole. And the remainder will be 2. I write 2 in the numerator and I write 10 in the denominator. So the denominator is fixed, it stays exactly the same. Now this mixed number, this mixed fraction, we can write it as a decimal. We write down 3 integers, separating the whole part from the fractional part. And then we pay attention to the number of digits after our dot. 10, 1, 0, so after the point should be 1 sign. The numerator contains 1 sign, so the result is 3.2 tenths. Now guys, let's answer the question, why can't I immediately convert the fractional number 32 decimals, that is the wrong fraction, into a decimal fraction? The thing is that according to the rules, I have to write down the whole part first. Alright, there's no whole part, so I'll write 0 point and separate the whole part of our point. But then the rules say I have to write as many digits after this point as there are zeros in the denominator. And I have only 1 0 in the denominator, so I have to write down 1 sign. But I have 2 signs in the numerator, which means I need to write down 1. And I have 2, so I have to write down 3 and 2. But I'm getting more characters, so I can't do that. So when you see an improper fraction, an incorrect fraction, you have to convert it to a mixed fraction first, and only then write it down as a decimal. So in order to convert a fraction into a decimal fraction, we first need to pay attention to whether it is a right or wrong fraction. A correct fraction can be converted to a decimal immediately. A mixed fraction can also be immediately converted to a decimal fraction. Only an irregular fraction cannot be immediately converted to a decimal fraction. You must first isolate the whole part and then write it as a decimal. Let's go through a couple more examples. Okay, 252 decimals. We have to note it down as a decimal. First, we notice what kind of fraction it is. The numerator is greater than the denominator. Therefore, it is an improper fraction. If it is an improper fraction, we remember the rule. First, we convert the improper fraction to a mixed fraction, and then we write it as a decimal. So, 252 tenths, we convert it to a mixed fraction. To do this, we divide 252 by 10. 252 divided by 10 is 25 whole. 25 whole. The remainder of the remainder is 2. So I write 2 in the numerator and leave the denominator the same. Now 25.2 tenths is a mixed fraction. We can write it down as a decimal fraction. We write down 25 whole. Separate the whole part, notice the number of zeros in the denominator, and that's 1 after our dot. I have 2 in the numerator, then the fraction comes out to 25.2 tenths. And one more example, which we're going to solve now, and one more example. 1,001 1,000. First, we're going to determine the type of a fractional number. It is an improper fraction because the numerator is greater than the denominator. Step 1. We isolate the whole part. Or we write it as a mixed fraction. We isolate the whole part. 1001 divided by 1000 would be 1 whole. And then we have a 1 in the numerator because that's the remainder. 1001 divided by 1000 is 1 whole. And 1 in the remainder, 1 in the remainder. And the denominator remains the same. Now let's put it in the form. As a decimal, we write down the whole part, that's 1 whole. Separate it with our dot. Now count the number of zeros in the denominator. 1, 2, 3. So I have to write 3 signs after the dot. But we only have 1 sign in the numerator. So in order to make 3 signs, we add zeros before the 1. 0, 0, 1. The result is 1.1000. When converting an improper fraction into a decimal fraction, be very careful. At the next lesson, we will analyze the algorithm of translation of the ordinary fraction, which denominator will not be equal to 10, 100, and 1000. And that's all for today. Goodbye. See you again.